This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by...
Hurt in a wreck. Why would you even think about calling the insurance company first?
Call someone who's going to work for you, not against you.
The insurance companies are not on your side. We are.
We are Lerner and Rowe.
Lerner and Rowe are the lawyers for you. Call 222-2222.
The Bill and Kelly Show is recorded at Studio A at Executive Suite Squared in beautiful Hammond, Indiana. Now, here's Bill and Kelly. Hello, welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show. Today, we're very excited to have some interesting guests on.
Some of my favorite people.
We have Bob Fish and Michael McFall, who are the co-founders and co-CEOs of Biggby Coffee, which is a national chain and one of the quickest growing franchises of coffee franchises in the United States right now. So we're at... Kelly's extremely excited, if you know her love for coffee.
Oh, they do.
Yes, and so welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And we're very honored. And let's first of all, we'd like to know a bit about our guests, where they're from, and then if you could just walk us right into how you two started Biggby's.
Sure, I think I can go first.
Right.
Age before beauty. Where I'm from, I was actually born in southern Germany. My father's American, my mother's German. Spent most of my grown-up years in Europe. Came back to the States to go to Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan in 1995. Got a hospitality degree there. Did that by working my way through school at a local restaurant, a pancake house. Upon graduation, I ended up staying with that pancake house and helping them grow from 1 unit to 4 units. And then in the end, I ended up owning one of those units. And then sold that in 1993, took 1994 off, went out to Seattle, hung out for a couple of months, came back, wrote a business plan for a coffee shop that would be called Biggby Coffee. Opened that with a partner in 1995 and operated that for about a year, which is when I met Mike McFall.
Where did the name Biggby come from, just out of curiosity?
Well, our logo is a rather large, big B.
Big B. Get it. I love it.
Hey, you could spend a whole lot of time picking out names. So, Michael, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure, great. I currently reside in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is about a half hour south of where I grew up. I grew up in a small town in Michigan called Milford, Michigan, and I went to school in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and had a real nice experience there. Post college, I ended up in Houston, Texas for about 18 months. Moved home. Wanted to be near my family. I'm very close to my brothers and my parents, and so I wanted to move home to Michigan and did that. And I ended up in East Lansing on a very specific research project at the university with a colleague. My mom was a professor there, and with a colleague of my mother's working on this very specific project. And went and I applied at every coffee shop in East Lansing because I thought it would be cool to work in a coffee shop, and because the research gig was only part-time. And so that's how I landed at Biggby. I started as a minimum wage barista there, and worked the opening shift from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. every day, and then walked over to my office at the college to work on that project. And that's how I got involved with Biggby. That's how I met Bob, and then we came together sometime later on a broader project, which is this company that we're managing day in and day out today. So that's the very brief origin story.
So Bob, Michael must have been a halfway decent employee if you invited him to be a partner.
Well, I didn't invite him to be a partner. He negotiated that. But no, the way it really happened was we were going to open store number 2. And my then partner, Mary Roselle, who's now retired, she said, hey, I work with this guy, Mike, in the morning because I work mostly in the evenings. And you might want to consider him as manager for that second shop. And so I came in midday. Mike and I sat down out front where we did our interviews for like 3 minutes. And if you know us now, both of us are pretty itchy people. So we decided to get up and just sort of walk around. And we ended up walking for about 4 hours through the campus of Michigan State University in East Lansing. And by the time we came back, we shook hands and said, let's start this company. And that's the company that exists today called Global Orange Development, which is the franchise company of Biggby Coffee.
Okay.
All right. So now, and then I take it you started out in Michigan. So how, progress us through how it grew and how many locations you added on through the years.
Well, when we formed the company on a handshake, we didn't really have a business model in mind. We knew we were opening store number 2, and that was our sole focus at that point. We spent the late summer and fall of 1997 getting that store open, and then we started exploring all kinds of options post store 2 opening in terms of how we wanted to grow. And really what happened was we started getting the 2 stores were very, very successful. And so we started getting these phone calls from people saying, do you franchise? Or where are you based out of? Do you franchise? I'd be interested in learning more about the franchise. Well, as a young upstart brand, it didn't take too many of those phone calls before you started, we started talking. It's like, well, maybe we ought to look into this franchising thing. And so, and that's really how it happened is demand drove us to consider franchising. We looked into it. We were very, very fortunate to have a woman in the greater Lansing area named Mary Ellen Sheets, who started 2 Men in a Truck. And that was a franchise company. And so she spent time with us, mentoring us, talking to us about this development of a franchise. We settled on that. And then we became legal to franchise, I believe in January of 1999, I think it was, is when we had all of our ducks in a row and we were ready to go.
And so now you're growing and adding on new franchises all over the United States. What does that look like? What does it look like become a franchise member? What are you looking for people? Do they approach you? And what qualifications do you require?
I think, franchising is a model where you do have to attract people who are interested in developing a market. So, we don't go to Salt Lake City and try to develop Salt Lake City. What it takes is either somebody that knows us locally goes to Salt Lake City, or somebody from Salt Lake City hears about us and comes and wants to develop the brand there. And, the criteria, is pretty in depth. A lot of the criteria is about how you're going to approach the business. We consider it an active investment, meaning it'll be your full-time best efforts. It'll be your sole occupation. We actually have a clause in our franchise agreement that you will work as a barista for the first year, 30 hours a week with an apron on in the store. And it's a pretty anachronistic clause because well, we love it, right? Because Bob and I have always believed that it's very hard to run a business that you don't know how to run it's very hard to manage a business that you don't know how to run yourself.
Yeah, having been a manager in a lot of businesses and things, it always I want those guys to come in my store and work it and tell me now what to do, because you're up in your little glass building over there and you don't know what it's like on the floor. And I think that's genius to have them have to work it and see what it's really like.
Yeah, it gets a little awkward at times when we're talking to a 43 unit Pet Supplies Plus franchisee right now, and It'd be hard to get that person to work in a store. But anyway, I think that the thing that we did strategically that was really important early on is that we kept our geography very, very tight. And so we really only developed, it was really Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, with a few outliers here and there. That allowed us to get a very strong foundation built to then grow upon. And that's what we're growing upon today.
And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is your unique branding. And you want to talk about that and how it can, because it is it's like an open area. A lot of coffee shops, and Starbucks is always known for this dark type atmosphere. But you walk into Biggby's and it's just the opposite. It's airy, light wood. Your product is nicely organized. You don't feel like you're being overrun with product. So talk to us a bit about how you guys developed that brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably two words that best describe us, and one is approachable, and the other one is energetic, right? And so, we've been in business for 25 years now. We have 250 locations open, and we're not even the same exact coffee shop we opened with in 1995. I mean, there's been iterations and reiterations and so on and so forth. But it doesn't matter which generation of Biggby Coffee you go into, the culture is the same. And it's a culture that is open, that is approachable, and that is highly energetic. But I think, one of the things that we're most proud of within our culture is our purpose. And our purpose inside of our company really doesn't have anything to do with coffee. It has to do with people. And that purpose is that we believe in supporting you in building a life that you love. And so whether you're, working in our home office, or you're an owner operator, or you're a barista, or even a customer, that's what drives us every day.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good philosophy to run
I'm
by.
pretty sure you
why
feel
you're
that in that Chester location,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, one thing, you feel a buy-in from the baristas to the person taking your order in the window. I mean, and that's something that Kelly and I, when we go there, it's, we joke around with them a lot of times because you feel like they could, and they, it's not, although.
I mean, they know my car. They're always like, hey, how you doing? What's new? And it's great.
And that's one thing that that has set a tone every time we go in, and we love when we go in there. And so that, it probably comes from a lot, and having those owners be baristas and getting the experience and helping mentoring, and it's something for a manager to say, I've been there, I've done this, so I can help you out along the way. And it also gives you credit for when someone comes to you, or maybe they don't because they know that you've done the job, and start, well, we can't do this. We can't. Oh, really? So
I did it.
Yeah. But hats off to you on that. And if it's indicative of all locations, the attitude is
and
just phenomenal.
that's why you guys are growing so much.
Yeah. So, we think it's magic to many degrees. And
well, I know this
Mike and I travel a lot. And we end up in stores. They don't know who we are. And we get to experience that sort of that magic, and it's real when it feels authentic.
Yeah, it is, and you get that feeling when you come in, and everything from the cups and the branding and everything is just spot on, so to speak. Now, one thing, as all the businesses have gone through the pandemic, and there's been distress and a lot of places, your competitors are shutting down locations. When we tuned into you guys, you were growing during the pandemic when everyone was shutting down. Do you want to talk to us a bit about that? And I saw that you had me, and which is interesting. You brought in franchise owners to talk about how are we going to get through this. And it's one thing that I want to talk and state about this before we get to that, is that you guys are extremely transparent with this company. And I think that's one of the things that grew me to get attracted to having you guys on, through social media. You're out there. You talk about the coffee. You talk about how the franchises run. And I know very few companies that are open and transparent about their franchises. You guys are. So getting back to that question about the pandemic, talk to us about that. We all hit a brick wall, but you guys kept growing. How did that happen?
Well, first, let me say on the transparency piece, because I'm glad you picked up on that, and thank you for saying it. When you're proud of what you built and you're proud of what you do, it's not hard to be transparent. And we're very, very proud of what we've built and who we are and how we run our company and of all of our franchise owners. And so, it's not hard to be transparent if you're truly proud of it. I think in the pandemic there was a moment there that it was really scary. I mean, as scared as I've been in 25 years in business. And, we had about 3 weeks that sales really, really plummeted. We were down year over year. I think 38% was our worst week throughout. And I think that was the third weekend or maybe the fourth weekend. And then, we were fortunate that our governor deemed us an essential business. And when our governor deemed us an essential business, our franchise owners rallied. It's the only way to say that. And so, they were very, very committed to the community. They were very committed to their staff, right? The safety of their staff, safety of the customer, and staying open. Mm-hmm. And so, and it was a really special moment for Bob and I to, what I would say is what Bob and I did well in that moment is we facilitated a conversation amongst a whole bunch of really, really smart, passionate, dedicated entrepreneurs. So we have 160 or 170 franchise owners out there. I don't know the exact number right now because we're adding franchise owners quickly. But it's these are really dedicated, really passionate people. And so what we did is Bob and I started every single day with a phone call, just the two of us at 7 a.m. And then we had a 3:30 phone call with all of our franchise owners every single day. And it was an hour, hour and a half, some were 2 hours long, depending on what was happening on that given day. But what I think we did is we facilitated that power, the power of the local owner to amongst themselves, with us, with our support, figure out how to keep the businesses open, keep people safe, and really, frankly, it sounds crazy, but thrive in that moment. And we really did. It was pretty shocking how quickly our business came back. And right now it's unprecedented, our growth rate.
Yeah, it is, because I see, as I hear more and more about the S word closing down locations, I see you're adding locations, and so that's refreshing during this time. It gives kind of hope to the rest of the industry in a way.
And it really speaks to the power of the franchise model. I just, it really speaks to local ownership, local entrepreneurs being responsible people in their communities and growing their brand locally. And that's hard to compete with if you're a company like Starbucks, which doesn't have that right. Local entrepreneur representing their brand.
Yeah, we the owner operator builds trust in the community, right? I mean, they sort of become the center of their community. I'm sure you've experienced that with the Chesterton location. And so a lot of these other concepts, they have to close because they can't get staff to show up, right? They can't get anybody to show up. But when you have an owner-operated business where they're right there working with the staff, there's a level of trust between the staff and the owner and the customer and the owner. And so, customers were coming to Biggby because they felt like it was safe. And that was really part of the magic also. But that has to all do with how Biggby embeds itself in the community.
Yeah, we noticed a lot of it. For instance, they're very cautious about opening up that lobby because it really doesn't lend itself for social distancing, at least in the Chesterton location, maybe in others. But you got that sense that, yeah, they're being safe here. Never did we have a time that we rolled up and saw an employee without a face mask. At the beginning of pandemic, where a lot of, until our governor clamped down, until a lot of businesses were opening up without face masks. And So yeah, we got that sense. Now the core of your business we're going to talk about. The coffee. And that's why this lady's here. But one of the things that not only the franchise, and you run into this sometimes, that you get in these successful franchises, but the product is average. They build this unique inertia around it, and they have an average product. Unlike you, I mean, we've taste tested, and for me personally, your dark roast, Biggby's best. In fact, I always loved growing up to the drive-through and saying we want a bag of Biggby's best beans. Mm-hmm. Say that 3 times real fast. So, in fact, hey, could be a marketing gimmick. Just have people get something off your big bag of Biggby's best beans. So, talk to us a bit about that selection process of the beans, and because I know you travel quite a bit and go through in the selection of the beans, and talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, the thing that's unique about Biggby Coffee is our mission to have our coffee be what we call farm direct, and that's where we build a relationship with a farmer, and we sort of knock out all the brokers in between. And what that means is that we can pay that farmer more, right? And kind of in exchange, or in sort of justification of that premium price to the farmer, what we're interested in is farmers that are doing 3 basic things. One, that they're paying their people right, above the national average. Mm-hmm. 2, that they're treating the environment right, that they're farming in a sustainable manner. And then 3, that they have some community mission too. Like all of our Biggby coffees are highly engaged in the community. And so what we're looking for is farmers that are doing things in their community. And that often comes down to things like schools or water projects or clinics and this kind of thing. And the basic premise there is that when you're working with somebody that's doing those 3 things, those are loving people. Those are people that have a loving heart. And we pretty much feel like the coffee that we get out of that farm is going to be 8 times better than the coffee we get out of the farm next door that's paying people less, treating the environment wrong, and not giving a poop about anybody else,
right.
Yeah. And it's just super enriching for us too. So I'm glad you mentioned Biggby Best, because 30% of that comes from a farm called El Recreo in Nicaragua. And it's owned by a couple, Leanna and Carlos Ferry, and they hit all these mission points and even more. And frankly, I think it's the Nicaraguan coffee that makes the Biggby Best so good. It has a very floral characteristic that gives it depth. You can, like, it'd be hard to identify what it is, except it tastes good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of it gets to the edge of being an espresso flavor with that very deep flavor, but yet not bitter.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's what I love. I love deep, flavorful coffees, and that really hits it right on the head. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that to market.
Well, I don't know if you can pick up, but there's 2 things we love. We love people, and we love coffee.
I think I got that. I'm right with you on all of those.
Yeah, when they see her car, her Tiffany Prius drive up, I think there's like 4 or 5 people that try to battle to get at the window to talk to us, which is great. Very, boy, this has been great. I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on. And before we go, though, is there anything else that you want to talk to us about? Any major plans that you want to share, or something coming up? Maybe a new location in Northwest Indiana or Chicago area?
Well, I would mention real quick, there's 11 locations in Indiana, but there's 11 more scheduled to go in within a 12-month period, right? Wow. So, we're doubling down on Indiana. So I wanted to mention that. I know Mike's got some projects he'd like to mention too, but the other thing I just wanted to say, because you talked about transparency, but Mike and I do this thing called an AMA, Ask Me Anything, every Wednesday at 5:00. You can go on Facebook and catch it. Mm-hmm. And the thing there is you can get on with us And for 45 minutes, we'll take whatever question anybody's got, just like on this show right here. And so if somebody was wanting a little bit more after hearing this, they can catch us at the AMA.
Which is great.
Cool. Yeah. And that's
So, Mike,
amazing stuff.
what did you want to add to this? I want to hear.
Well, I mean, there's a ton, right? I mean, today it's National Coffee Day. I think this is my third or fourth interview today, which is just awesome. People are so interested, and really I've spent my day talking about our farm direct relationships and all the work that Bob and Michelle are doing on that. And, that there's if you're interested in that, and I think most of us should be, but if you're interested in that, there's a Bob and Michelle do an amazing blog called One Big Island in Space, and big has 2 G's. And so if you go there, you can track all the work that they're doing, we're all doing it collectively, but it's primarily Bob and Michelle. But, so that's a great place to learn more, track the progress, really get into the stories. And so I would encourage people to check that out. It's really cool. One Big Island in Space with 2 G's.
Are people able to go to these farms when, like, say they take a trip to Nicaragua? Can they go to this farm and see it and experience it?
Yeah, we've taken folks, we've taken owner-operators, we've taken people from the home office. In the end, we'll take customers, we'll take baristas and so on and so forth. And, it's an environment that's safe and not safe. I mean, it's not like going to a coffee farm in Hawaii. Sure. It is, Nicaragua happens to be the second poorest country after Haiti in the Western Hemisphere. Sure. But it's safe, and but it's a life-changing experience, yes, is what I would say. Mike, you got to tell them about Life Labs. Come on.
Well, okay, you can edit this out. So no, we're really, when we say our purpose is to support you in building a life that you love. And so the short version of that is that we are building out a curriculum. I mean, there's 3 primary things that we're doing internally to support our purpose. And we do some really amazing things. In fact, there was an incredible article that came out today on our company from a guy from London who's tracking us and following the work that we're doing. But it's really 3 things that are just, I think, mind-blowing for people that we're working on. One is we do individualized coaching. So employees have the opportunity to have an individualized coach in our company. It's not their manager. So it's not the person they report to in the business. That coach is there to support them in their pursuing their passions and developing a life that they love, even to the point where we have people that leave our organization to move on and to pursue their passion outside of Biggby, which we fully endorse and we think is wonderful, right? We have a curriculum that we've developed that is 4 courses that people can take that are all about building a foundation for people that may need some of that to have the foundation to build a life that they love upon. And so, the curriculum is fully developed, and we're deploying it right now. It's if you want to learn more about that, you go to biggby.com/lifelab, and there's a ton of information on there. And then the final thing is that we do forums, which are, consider them like support groups, right? Fully endorsed by the company, right? So we organize these, we administrate these for the first couple of years. We get anywhere from 8 to 12 people in them, and the idea being that they will live beyond the first couple of years, and that these people will have a way to support each other in building lives that they love, and facilitate each other's growth, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, these are things that you don't hear of other companies doing, right? And so, and we're deeply invested into it. We've been working on this stuff for 5 years. It's coming to fruition right now, like this year, and it's beautiful.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that article can be found, we have a tab on our website, biggby.com, that says Be in the Know. It's at the top of the news section right now.
Yeah, a guy did a good job of capturing what we're up to in a pretty succinct way, and I appreciated it. It was well done.
You guys are doing great work.
Absolutely.
We followed
and I
you.
love your philosophy and everything else. When I lived in Houston many years ago, I did PR and marketing for a fast food restaurant who shall be unnamed, but yeah, that I would have killed to have that kind of support and know that there were people out there that were as passionate about things with my company that I was working for as you guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you guys are brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely bloody brilliant.
I'll close this off by saying, and we're kind of torn here because some of our best friends are private-owned coffee shop owners. But that's the feel you get with Biggby's, is that it's locally owned, and your premises in developing your franchise.
That's right.
That's what you put forward, is we're into supporting community, people that are engaged in the community and engaged with developing the brand name, and that's good work.
Our folks are independent operators. The only difference is they're not in business just for themselves, and they're not in business by themselves.
Right. But not being in business by yourself is huge.
It's huge.
Knowing that you guys are there to help out in all the ways that you do, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good work, guys. Great.
Yep.
I'll say
We
that
love you
again
guys.
and again.
Thanks for having us.
We
Oh
love
my
your
gosh.
coffee.
Thanks for having
Thank you
us.
so
And
much
with
for
that,
coming
we'll
on.
we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. And
Absolutely.
And we'll again, Bob. Thank you, Michael. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank
We
you.
wish you the best.
Pleasure.
Please be safe and enjoy the rest of the week. And we hope we can get you back on again. Maybe-
Absolutely.
For sure. We got a lot to talk
Love it.
about.
definitely.
Oh, we can go on. We can go on for
Anytime.
hours.
Yeah,
I
just
love
if you'll
it.
stay on just a second or two before we close that show. We'll say goodbye for now.
Bye,
Goodbye.
everybody. This episode of the Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by
Hurt in a wreck. Why would you even think about calling the insurance company first?
Call someone who's going to work for you, not against you.
The insurance companies are not on your side. We are.
We are Lerner and Rowe.
Lerner and Rowe are the lawyers for you. Call 222-2222.